Hi guys, welcome to Multiverse. Today we're going to take a look at the Watchmen. I've been toying with the idea of making a Watchmen video for a long time, but somehow I couldn't just pull it off. So I figured let's just do a handful of the characters from the Watchmen, and if I have to, I'll make a follow-up video with more of the Watchmen characters. So let's get started. Obviously, the most easiest character to reproduce is Dr. Manhattan. You just use the glowing skin, the black short brief, or even no brief if you really want to. And I use the domino mask because otherwise we don't see the eyes at all. So I use the domino mask so that we could actually see the eyes of the character. Also, in the comic, the character had those weird shadows around the eyes, which always suggested to me like almost a domino mask. It's as if it was like two pieces of a domino mask, and like the pieces above the nose was kind of like missing. And so I figured domino mask would be a good option to be able to see the eyes of the character, as opposed to having a character that doesn't really have any eyes. And obviously, using quantum powers or nuclear powers with that character would work either way. I toyed with the idea of giving him the nuclear emblem, but I decided against that. Here we have our friend Rorschach. I the mask was the most problematic piece. Although the rest of the suit, like there's no hat that really looks like the hat that Rorschach was using. And even for the long coat, amongst the like the two or three trench coat we have, this was the better option. And even then, the basically Rorschach is quote unquote inspired by the Question, and using this version of the long coat with the tie, it screams more the Question than Rorschach, because Rorschach didn't have the tie. The Question has the tie. And for the face, sadly, if I was using a mask, I couldn't use the hat. And if I use the hat, sadly, I cannot have a mask. So I thought using the water skin would be able to be a good cheat. Also, I thought it would be able to allow me to create the sort of moving pattern, to suggest the sort of moving pattern that the mask has in the comics or even in the film. Sadly, it was pretty much an epic fail. So, eh, maybe you guys will have some ideas on how to do a better version of Rorschach at this point. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Night Owl was fairly simple to reproduce. Basically, some slimline gear. Although for the pants, I went with the Stalwart Defender, and I gave him the short shorts that he seems to have in the film. Uh, for the obviously the Batman cowl for the headpiece, I used the Harley Quinn goggles for the goggles. So this was probably one of the simplest one to reproduce, because they're more it basically the way they've made Night Owl in the film was almost like an alternate version of Batman, as opposed to Night Owl actually being an alternate version of Blue Beetle. Although the way he ended up in the comic, he almost became like a cross between Blue Beetle and Batman, which is a bit weird, but that's how it evolved. And of course, it was easier to get the physique, the shape of the movie character. In the comics, obviously, he has like that huge belly, which sadly it's pretty much impossible to reproduce in this universe online. So making the movie version was a bit easier. For the boots, I went with the Egyptian boots. It doesn't exactly look like the boots Night Owl has, but it was close enough. And the hands are the aeronaut hands, but there's a handful of pair of gloves that could have done the trick, and the classic cape works well enough. But again, there's probably a few capes that could have been used to recreate that character. And last but not least for this video, the comedian. We can get it doesn't exactly look like the comedian, but it's close enough that someone who would see this character, who knows the comedian, would understand that, oh yeah, this is supposed to be the comedian. So the domino mask, the mustache, the big shoulder pads with a star on it. Ideally, if we could have just one shoulder pad, that would be perfect. But what can you do? So the military chest piece, I forget what belt that is. The gloves I went with the Harley Quinn gloves, the bombshell Harley Quinn gloves. So basically a whole bunch of military stuff, uh, with lots of military pouches and military straps and all that kind of stuff was good enough to reproduce our friend the comedian. For the boots, there's a whole bunch of boots that could work. I've used one of the Checkmate boots. Always forget if it's the Checkmate Informant or the other one, but basically it's one of the Checkmate's pair of boots that I've used. And at some point in the comic, or I don't remember if he used it in the film, but at some point in the comic, the comedian started wearing a full mask because basically at some point in Vietnam he was scarred, and he started using a full face mask to basically hide his scar. The luchador mask would be perfect for that if we could put it completely black. Sadly, there's a whole bunch that we can't really change, that sadly ends up being white. And if going with a full face mask that is black doesn't really work, doesn't really look like the comedian. There was this like sort of hole for the mouth, and the way the slit for the eyes worked, it doesn't really look like that. So basically, the better version is the one with the domino mask, obviously. So that's pretty much it for the Watchmen, for this video of the Watchmen. Again, I didn't have quite all the styles I needed to be able to do a good job reproducing those characters, other than maybe Dr. Manhattan, but Dr. Manhattan was pretty simple. I toyed with the idea of giving an aura to Dr. Manhattan, and it didn't look like I had the Starro aura that I thought I could use with him, and it was too much. It was blue on blue, and it didn't really look good. So strangely enough, just the skin was the better option with that character. You can see the aura on the armory, but when it's on the character, there's too much blue on blue. It doesn't really work. So hopefully, maybe you guys have some ideas on how to recreate a better version of the Watchmen. If you do, feel free to mention so in the comment section down below. I will make a follow-up video at some point. I have no idea when. Hopefully in the future I'll gather more styles that will allow me to do a better job recreating the Watchmen. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. So that's pretty much it for now, guys. So as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.